Swarbrick. The only people who have a problem with giving police officers tasers are the people who are likely to be on the end of a receiving one, says Bob. Cody has called. Cody Lachey. Hi, Cody.
How you doing, Tom? You all right?
I'm well. Now, you've given us a ring.
Yeah.
You are a prisoner, former prisoner.
Yeah, former prisoner.
And you were. I'm told that you were in prison with Anthony Granger's brother, whilst he also was behind bars.
Yes, I was, mate. Yeah, and I also was at a prison protest. Well, a police protest outside Greater Manchester Police Headquarters with the uncle of Anthony Granger as well.
Now, to remind listeners, Anthony Granger is the man who was shot dead by Greater Manchester Police, where there's been this investigation.
Unarmed. He was unarmed as well.
Yeah. What did Anthony Granger's brother talk about in prison regarding?
He was doing a life sentence, and he'd just been given his category B, being held in high security, maximum security prisons. He landed at the prison, and then he was watching like the inquest and stuff unfold and the trial and stuff like that was going on around the like news stories around the death of his brother, and obviously was just appalled because how can somebody that hasn't got a firearm on them, near them, or in their vicinity or anywhere near them be shot dead by armed police? And
do you know why, or do you happen to know why armed police were involved with this guy anyway?
Because his associates were very well-known criminals, and it was alleged, it was rumoured, they was weighing up an armed robbery, how it was reported.
Right.
But like I say, the thing is, if someone's like... when I was in the forces as a soldier, we had rules of engagement, which were when you could fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
The police, and that would be if there was an immediate threat to life, if someone was pointing a firearm at you or raised a firearm to you, you could shoot that person. This person, there was 3 people sat in the car, 2 people who I've also met, but I don't know them, but I've met them, and obviously Anthony. And the police pulled up in this operation. They'd been under surveillance apparently. But how you can shoot an unarmed man dead is just absolutely unbelievable. On the back of it, Anthony's partner went on to do a law degree and stuff. The family have not stopped campaigning. And like I say, their mantra, their quote was "no justice, no peace." But sadly and tragically, with the corruption that you face with the police and the government and stuff, the family, for me, even though there's like the lawyers are calling for corporate manslaughter charges to be laid at the hands of the officers involved and Greater Manchester Police as an organisation, but sadly there's no accountability since that operation where Anthony Granger was shot dead unarmed. The Chief Constable of Greater Manchester Police, Sir Peter Fahey, has stepped down from his position, and sadly and tragically, I don't think the family will ever get peace, to be honest with you. But like I say, I mean, going on about the taser situation. I've been in prison where the Prison Officers Association are calling for tasers. The police want tasers. You've got, obviously, tactically, they are armed. It's resulted in the death of a guy up here in Manchester, who I won't name because we're on the radio. He was tasered by the police. He had an underlying heart condition, and he was tasered for too long. And sadly and tragically, it resulted in the death of that individual.
Dalian Atkinson, is it? The former Aston Villa?
No, it's not Dalian Atkinson. No, it was a guy called Jordan Begley from Manchester.
Right.
He was apparently he was brandishing a knife in the street, not at anybody. He just had it in his possession. Wasn't pointing it at anybody. Wasn't a threat to anybody. The police pulled up. They drew taser, and they obviously tasered him. He had an underlying heart problem. And sadly and tragically, he actually died.
This is in 2013, Jordan Begley. Yes, I've just seen it here.
That's the story, yeah.
The police officer who tasered a man shortly before his death should not have held the trigger for such a long time, according to the police watchdog.
So this is the thing. So for me, tasers are not safe. First things first, obviously, the police are massively understaffed under this, I won't swear, but this Conservative government that we've got. Fewer police on the street since 1996, since comparable records began. Community police stations are closing down. Police are having to prioritise, obviously, the offences. Where they used to have enough eggs in different baskets to cover the basics, now they're having to prioritise policing, which plays into the hands of the criminals. You've seen the knife crime epidemic we've got on our streets, and it's a green light for criminals across the board.
Well, Cody, listen, I think that the people who die as a result of being shot by a taser, that is tragic. And if people have been overly aggressive in using that taser, then there has to be some accountability for that. I completely agree with that. Same for anybody who is shot dead wrongly by the police, as it is for your the family member of the people that you are friendly with.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid I still believe that more police officers should have them. They should be very well trained on them. They should know that they are going to be accountable for the use of taser. But it strikes me that if 88% of the time a taser is used but actually isn't fired, that's quite a good record. That's quite good statistically. That seems to be quite good, because the incident is brought to a conclusion safely without the taser being used anyway.
Well, I get what you're saying, but if you're saying every officer should be armed with taser, them statistics are obviously going to differ massively. And the thing is, a lot's made of mental health and stuff like that, and underlying mental health issues. Now, let's say that there's a man on the street that is having a psychotic episode, so he's not compliant because he can't. Like I say, he's having a psychotic episode. He's not in charge of his own actions. Somebody draws a taser on this individual who's mentally ill, right? They taser him, right?
Yep.
That has ramifications and stuff. But the fact is, police can pull out them.
Can I just intercept you as you make this point just briefly?
Yeah.
Yes, it does have ramifications. But what's the guy who's having the psychotic episode doing whilst not in control of his actions? Is he running around with a machete?
That's not always the case, though. This is the thing.
But is he beating people? Like what's happening?
Obviously, for taser to be drawn. But the thing is, say you've had 5 officers involved in an incident, right? One officer might think it's like a situation where a taser must be drawn, but the other 4, their tasers might be in the holsters, right? So this is the thing. So there's no consistency with the use of taser. It's resulted in deaths. And like I say, I personally believe, as a former criminal who's now seen the error of my ways, now projects myself differently, speaks at universities, speaks at schools and things like that, that we will have something similar, even though it's not a firearms incident. You've got Mark Duggan in London, which obviously was shot dead in 2011 in the Tottenham, which obviously the Tottenham riots went off from that. That if that happens again on a national scale, people are going to come together, and with fewer police on the streets, and I said it when I was interviewed about the riots and stuff, I said, if the riots could happen again, there's fewer police on the streets, they couldn't stop that many people, so if more people came, fewer police, they'd be overrun. So I genuinely believe
that never happens. Cody, I'm really grateful that you gave us a ring. Cody Lachey, who was, as you heard, in prison